What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. And in today's video I'm going to be talking about 20 different fighters in the UFC that I believe should change weight class. So we've got at least one fighter from every weight class. Obviously flyweights can't move down and heavyweights can't move up. So obviously for those two we're only going to be able to move either down or up respectively. But for every other weight class I'm going to be including one or more fighter that should both move down and up. So we're talking about one from each that should go to featherweight, one from each that should go to flyweight. For bantamweight, you guys get the idea. Let's get into it. So for flyweight, I've gone with Brandon Royval. Now, I guess with flyweight, it's not really a case of like, with Royval, it's not really a case of like, oh, I think he could really smoke a bunch of guys at bantamweight. Because let's be honest, it's the victimweight division for a reason. They're meant to stay down there. Unless you're Figueiredo, you just ain't having success up a weight class. But with Royval, it's mostly because I do think there's just a lack of options for him right now. Like, look, I know he's coming off the win over Moreno, which is great, and he is ranked number one in the division, but let's be real, Lil Bro ain't getting a title shot. No one's trying to see Royval Pantoja 3. This ain't no Holloway Volkanovski. Like, just because you, like, Holloway Volk won the first two, but they were close, they were interesting, they were competitive fights. No one's trying to see Royval Pantoja 3. So most of this decision making behind this move, in my opinion, is just because I think he's got nothing better to do. Like a bantamweight, he's got some fun fights up there. Like, I could see this guy having a good fight with like a Rob Font, a Martinez, like a Pedro Munoz. These could be solid fights. I'm not saying he beats heaps of guys there, but you might as well have a crack, cut less weight for a bit. Just see how you go at bantamweight, and if you need to, you can just go back down to flyweight. But let's move on to the bantamweight division. First up for bantamweight, guys, listen, guys. I'm telling you, I'm 5'9", guys. I'm not 5'4", guys. I'm a really good sized bantamweight, guys. Listen, buddy, move down to flyweight. Like, you probably can't like physically cut to flyweight because you're a little fucking muscle, like little midget ball. So Cejudo, I mean, if you can, you should, because let's be honest. How many fucking fights, like, I mean, there's names for him at bantamweight, but, like, how many, like, actual, like, he's calling out Rob Font for an Apex card. That's who he's calling out. But, like, bro, you go down to flyweight, if you can make it and not kill yourself like Dillashaw, then there's really good fights from there. Like, I think he beats Moreno at flyweight if he's not deteriorated. Like, I think he beats a lot of guys. I think he could give Pantoja a really tough fight if he's not deteriorated and weight drained. But if he could make the weight class, he should definitely move down. But now let's talk about someone who should move up. I think Chito Vera should try and move up. And similar to Royval, it's not because I think he has heaps of success at featherweight, but it's more so just because I don't think he's in a good position right now at bantamweight. Like, I mean, the Peter Yan fight is there, I guess. There's a figure, like, you could fight Figueiredo, but, like, you've already fought Song Yadong, you've already fought Jose Aldo, you've already fought Font, you've already fought Sandhagen, you've already fought O'Malley now, obviously. There's not you've already fought Cruz. Like, how many really interesting fights are there for Chito? But also, he has a tough weight cut to bantamweight. I know that. So if this guy goes up, again, I think he would lose to the top guys. But you're telling me him and, like, Kelvin Kattar wouldn't be, like, a pretty solid fight at, like, Kattar's stage, at this stage in Kattar's career? Like, he could go up and try and fight Aljo at featherweight. We've seen it. Aljo went up. It's the lighter weight class skill, you know, as Lucas Tracy says, the lighter weight class skill. Bantamweights actually look pretty good at featherweight when they go up. So I think this guy could go up, have some success against a few guys in that division. And again, it's just because, like, you have a tough weight cut to bantamweight and you've really got no path back to a title shot while O'Malley's champ. So just do something else for you, like, do something else for a bit. Just try out featherweight. But let's move on to another fighter. Now, right off the bat for featherweight, Max Holloway should, if he's getting the Ilya fight, you fight that fight, and if you don't win, then you move up. There is 0 point to sticking around at featherweight if it's not for a belt. Like, who the fuck else are you going to fight at featherweight that isn't Ilya? If you don't fight Ilya, leave. If you fight Ilya and lose, move up to lightweight, stay there. Do not come back down for the rest of your career. I don't care what title shot they offer you at 45. Just have one more crack at it and then go up. You look way better. Max Holloway looks so much better at lightweight. And I think he beats a lot of guys there. I don't think he beats Islam. I don't think he beats Arman. But Charles is a solid fight. We just saw him beat Gaethje. A Poirier rematch would be interesting if Poirier loses. Like, he's not going to fight Gamrot, but, like, a lot of these guys are very beatable for him. So, yeah, move up to lightweight permanently. Pack the muscle on and keep it on. Fight Ilya next. You can go back down. And then after that, don't do this switch and weight bullshit. None of that. It doesn't help. stay up there, build muscle, become a true lightweight, similar to how Oliveira did, and you'll have a lot more success. But let's talk about someone else. Now, someone I think should move down is Dan Ige. Now, look, I'm not sure if this guy would be able to make the weight class. He seems like a pretty, like, built dude. Like, he's not a skinny guy for featherweight. But he's pretty short. He's like 5'6". Couldn't be me. But he's got good power. He's a great boxer. He's a skilled fighter. He's not like someone that's just relying on attributes that he would lose attributes at bantamweight or something. I think he'd be fine there if he could make the weight. And he's never really been a chinny guy. And he's never been a guy to gas out. So I don't think a cut to bantamweight would be that bad for him. I think Cheeto cuts more weight than him, honestly. I think Song Yudong cuts more weight than Dan Ige. I'm pretty sure they said Song Yudong weighed like Aljo cut way more when he was there. So yeah, Dan Ige should move down. Bro, tell me a fight with him and Rob Font is not a fucking banger. Do that fight as like a fucking Apex main event fight night or in a crowd too. You could do it, or do it on like a Boston pay-per-view, because I know Rob Font's from Boston, I'm pretty sure. So do that shit. That shit would be fucking great. I want to see that fight. There's other fights for him there too, obviously, but tell Ige, bro, you're a gatekeeper at featherweight. You ain't going to the top 10, so you might as well just take some fun fights at bantamweight and test it out. But let's talk about someone else. Now, this one I don't feel as strongly about, but Bryce Mitchell, either you pack on muscle and become a strong 45er and don't get just chucked around and fucking manhandled by Ilya and just not be able to strike with anyone good if you can't take them down. So either build yourself up and become a big 45er or cut to bantamweight. I don't think he's that big. My chest is as flat as the damn earth, brother. Like, Bryce Mitchell, you've got fucking zero muscle. You've just got the farmer build. I think he should try and cut to bantamweight. If it doesn't cook his cardio too much and it doesn't rinse his chin, that's why I'm not as strong on this one, but he should try it out. Like, there's some guys that you would beat there with just your grappling alone. You'd be stronger than them going down. It's how Aljo had so much success. I'm not saying he'd be champ, but, like, you're telling me this guy doesn't beat, you're telling me he doesn't beat Rob Font? I feel like Bryce Mitchell would beat Rob Font in the grappling. Take him down. Like, he took down Barboza, beat him up on the ground. So, yeah, Bryce Mitchell, try out a cut to bantamweight. If it goes well for you, stay there for a bit. I think that would go all right. But let's move on to someone else. Now, this one's not for like a real contendership sort of trying to make a run at the title in another division. This is just Edson Barboza. I'm telling him, move up to lightweight and just for the rest of your career, just have legends fights. You're already taking a beating in a lot of your fights against Yusuf, against Murphy. These guys, they're punching you real hard in the face. Honestly, you're not going to be a champion. You're not going to be a top 10, top 5 guy. Just move up to lightweight, take legends fights. Like, fight like Michael Johnson or some shit. I think you've probably fought him before, but like, fight guys like that. Go up, honestly, I know he's top 10 ranked, but go up and campaign for a Beneil Dariush rematch. Because you fucking slept him in the first fight, and I wouldn't even hate his chances to beat Beneil at this stage in Beneil's career. He should go up. He's not going to be a contender regardless of what weight class he's in, but just go up. Don't cut this weight at like when you're 38 in your career. There's no point. And yeah, just have legends fights, have fun fights. You tell me you don't want to see a Barboza Dan Hooker rematch, even if you would lose. Like, at least then you're not cutting all the weight and then getting beaten up. Your chin would probably be a bit better. And he reached a higher pinnacle at lightweight than he did at featherweight too. So Barboza, just move up for the last couple fights of your career. There's no need to see him fight fucking, I don't know, like who's he going to fight? We don't need to see him versus like Gene Silver or some shit like that. Like, it just doesn't need to happen. But let's talk about someone else. Charles Oliveira should move up to welterweight. I do believe this is something that should happen. Look, I love Charles, and I would love to see him get the belt back at lightweight, but I just don't think it's going to happen, honestly. Like, we've seen him lose clearly to Islam. We've seen him lose, not clearly, but, like, he lost to Arman pretty much flat out. And I just don't think they're giving this guy a title shot again. I think this was his opportunity against Arman to be like, I still want it. And even then, it's like the rematch. Not as many people care. But now you've lost to Islam and Arman. I don't think there's much left from a lightweight. What are you going to just do? Like, Gamrot? Who gives a fuck? What are you going to do? Rematch the guys you already beat? Look at this. He's already fought Arman, Gaethje, Poirier, Gamrot. No, he hasn't fought Gamrot, sorry. Arman, Gaethje, Poirier, Chandler, Beneil. He's already fought all of those guys. Who's below that? Fiziev? I'm not trying to see him get chinned by Fiziev because I think that might happen. So yeah, go up to welterweight. Don't cut as much weight. Your chin will probably be better. You've got good power there. And I think a lot of lightweights do really well at welterweight. We've seen it with Gilbert Burns. So yeah, go up to welterweight. fight some other guys down. I think you wouldn't be a champion, but you could easily slot right into like a top 10, top 5 spot there, nearly almost. Like, you're telling me this guy doesn't beat like Gilbert Burns at this stage in their careers right now? Like, you're telling me this guy don't beat Colby? The Colby's number 4, bro. You're telling me he doesn't beat Bilal at number 2? Like, I'm pretty confident he could beat Bilal. So I think Charles should definitely move up to welterweight. But let's talk about someone else. I wouldn't mind seeing Rafael Fiziev try and move down to featherweight. I actually think that's a solid idea because, now look, he walks around like 180, he said, but, you know, he's a muscular dude, he's a jacked guy, and he's not that tall either. So I think he could easily lean out a little bit more. Obviously, you're walking around, that's like when you're not lean there. So I think maybe I'm crazy, but just try out a cut to featherweight, honestly, because I think at lightweight, you're not going to beat these top guys. In my opinion, I think he loses to Arman. I think he loses to Islam. He loses to these guys. We saw him, even Gaethje, who is like now at the back end of his career, sort of. He kind of thumped up Fiziev in the second and third. So I actually kind of want to see him have a cut to lightweight. Can you imagine a fight between him and Yair Rodriguez? She would be nuts. So I want to see that. If it's too much for me, we can't make the weight, fair, that's fine. But for the purpose of this video, I have to name a lightweight who should move down, and I'm going to go with Fiziev. But I got one other person to talk about. Call me crazy, but Arman Sayukian should try and cut to featherweight if he loses to Islam Makhachev for the belt. Now, obviously, he's got a title shot locked up. He's going to be fighting for the belt after Islam beats Poirier. Yes, Islam's beating Poirier. He'll fight him in Abu Dhabi. He's probably going to lose to Islam, in my opinion. Now, look, if you lose that fight, Arman is not a really interesting guy, and he's not a guy that everyone's clamoring to see all these top contender fights are lightweight. Now, look, I actually think he'd do really solid. Like, stylistically wise, if he could make the weight, Arman beats, like, pretty much every featherweight, in my opinion. Like, you're telling me that he would smoke Yair. He would fucking maybe not sub, but, like, he would easily beat Yair on the ground comfortably. I think he smokes Ortega. Ortega's number 3. I think he would beat Evloev. I think he's a better version of Evloev. Like, I think this Ilya is actually a really competitive fight. Obviously, if he was weight drained and had a bad chin, he might just get chinned. But him and Ilya is a really cool fight, and I actually kind of want to see that. So if he loses to Islam and you can make featherweight, give it a crack. But let's talk about someone else. Now, you guys all know what I'm doing here. Drew Dober needs to move up to welterweight immediately. And look, I'm just going to, I won't explain it. All I'm going to do is just read out some names. So, at lightweight, let me just look down the list. Jalen Turner, Bobby Green. All right, no context needed. I'm just going to move up to welterweight. Kevin Holland, Michael Page, Neil Magny, Joaquin Buckley, Jeff Neal, and then Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman. That's all I'm going to say. You guys know what I'm talking about. We need more viable options for Drew Dober to beat in the rankings, and I've just named like 8 of them at welterweight. You guys know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you shouldn't be watching this channel. But let's move on to another fighter. Colby Duckington needs to move down to lightweight. He spends a whole lot of time talking about how good he is because he doesn't cut weight and he fights at welterweight and he fights at his natural weight class. Guess what, little bro? You can't become a champion at your natural weight class. Doesn't happen. I mean, with some people it does, I guess, but it rarely happens is what I'm saying. So yeah, Colby Covington, move down to lightweight. Since you obviously don't want to fight Ian Gary, that's become very clear. Go down to lightweight. You want to fight Oliveira so much? Go meet him at lightweight. I don't fucking know. But try it out. I think he can make lightweight. He walks around lighter than like Chandler and shit. Maybe the way he would have to cut the weight because he's not like a really muscular dude, so the water weight doesn't just come out super easy and then fill back on. But I still think he would do well at lightweight. He would lose to some guys but I think this guy beats some of them I think he beats Poirier at lightweight, to be honest. I think he beats Gaethje at lightweight with his grappling. Maybe not, because at this stage in his career, he does look kind of shit. But if the Colby that fought like Jorge, even though Jorge's not that good, if he fights these guys, I think he beats a lot of the strikers at lightweight. But he would obviously lose to like Islam, Arman, Charles, Gamrot, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, Holloway. But let's move on to another fighter. Kamaru Usman needs to move up to middleweight. I don't know what he's doing. Is he actually still fighting, or is he just like retired but still in the rankings? I'm not sure. Maybe he's just not caring about MMA anymore and he's just waiting for them to offer him something. But this guy looked fucking really good on short notice against Hamzat in the second and third. His cardio is great, and we all know middleweights are awful. They're shit. So yeah, I'm going to just go through the list. Like Chris Curtis, he beats. Hernandez is tough. Michel Pereira might just be too physical, like too big and too quick on the feet, but close. Baralio's interesting. I think he smokes Stolidze. Hamzat, 5-round rematch. I think he wins. He beats Hermanson. Mavov's close. I don't mind it. I think he beats Costa. I think he beats Allen. I think he beats Vittori. Cannonier is interesting. Cannonier might just be too big for him. Whitaker's a really tough fight. I think Whitaker would beat him because he would stuff the takedowns. Izzy, I think he beats Izzy. Strickland, it's tough, you know. A Strickland rematch is actually a really close fight. I know a lot of people are going to call me a casual and say, like, what do you mean, bro? Strickland smokes him. We saw the fight the first time. I know it's changed since then. Don't come at me. But if Usman's not completely washed, I think he could give Strickland a tough fight. And then Dricus, I think he would lose. But this guy's got nothing at welterweight. Why are you sticking around there? What's the point? If you're going to cut weight all the way down to welterweight, to fight who? Like Shavkat, Della, one of these, like Ian Gary? Why? Doesn't make any sense. So yeah, go up to middleweight. You don't need to cut as much weight and just, end your career there. But let's move on to someone else. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson needs to move up to middleweight because, again, I don't think there's much left for him at welterweight. Like, what fights are interesting there for him? Who's he going to... He's not fighting Gary because he's behind Gary now. Who's he going to fight? Like MVP? He doesn't even want to fight MVP. Like Buckley? What are we talking about here? So yeah, I don't think there's anything for welterweight at Wonderboy. And at middleweight, there's some interesting fights. Like, you're telling me you don't want to see a Whitaker versus Wonderboy Thompson fight. The strikers, obviously he would lose to the grapplers and stuff. But the strikers of this division, he's still one of the best strikers in the sport. And welterweights are better than middleweights. That's a fact. So, you're telling me him and Strickland ain't a close fight? Like, you're telling me, what do you mean, bro? Strickland, he smokes him. Like, you're telling me Wonderboy is not, like, way quicker than Sean Strickland and could easily just outpoint him with kicks on the outside? I'm not saying guaranteed I would pick Wonderboy, but I think he beats a lot of strikers at middleweight, and I think he would do best to give that a go. But let's move on to someone else. Now to the middleweight division, and Chris Curtis needs to cut down to welterweight. Look, I had to pick someone, and it's unfortunate because there's a big gap between middleweight and welterweight. So there's not many guys who I would recommend cutting down, but we saw Joaquin Buckley do it, and he looks great now at welterweight. I think Chris Curtis should do it as well. Like Gastelum is a middleweight who cut down to welterweight because he was just a small middleweight. Curtis is the same. I think he should definitely cut down. He's not going to do fuck all at middleweight. No one cares about him there. But, like, go down to welterweight. There's some fun fights for you there. I think he would lose, but, like, you could chase a Jeff Neal fight or something like that. You could even, like, you could chase a Buckley rematch. That would, like, you've got, like, rounds for that. Not saying he makes a run at welterweight, but why would you not? Try it out. It went well for Buckley, and you KO'd Buckley. Let's talk about someone else, though. I want to see Jared Cannonier move up to light heavyweight if he loses to Nassourdine Imavov. Now, look, if he wins, he should just campaign for a title shot and refuse to fight anyone if he doesn't get one. Because he hasn't fought Dricus, and the Dricus fight is actually really interesting, and I think he's got a good shot there. I think he would lose, but he's got a good chance. But if he loses to Imavov, no one cares about you, little bro. You're going to fall into irrelevancy. You're no longer a top 5 guy. No one would give a fuck about you. So yeah, he should, if he this is on the condition if he loses to Imavov, which I think he will. There's no one for you at middleweight. What are you going to do? Just be a gatekeeper to the top 5 again? That's dead. So go up to light heavyweight, and there's some good fights for you there. Like, there's some fun matchups. Him versus, like, Khalil Roundtree, bro, that shit would be sick. Like, him versus, like, a Blachowicz, that'd be fucking cool. I think did he fight Blachowicz? Am I tripping? But yeah, there's fights from there. He could definitely, like, beat a lot of guys there. You tell me this guy doesn't smoke Anthony Smith. So yeah, Cannonier, if he loses to Imavov, go try out 205. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Yuri Prohaska, I heard him talk about moving down to 185. Why not? I mean, I have to pick someone. For the purpose of this video, I have to pick a 205 at a move down. And it's a big jump. It's a fucking 20-pound jump. So, if he can make the weight class, it's a great idea. Because I think he could just autism and just retard max his way to a belt. Like, him versus Dricus is the fight I didn't know I needed, and now I need it. Like, I want to see that fight. So, if Yuri gets, like, a rematch with Alex, maybe, and then loses, again, you ain't getting another title shot. You've already fought a few of the top guys there. Move down, and go see if you can cut to 185. Do a test cut first. Make sure it's safe. Make sure you don't die. And then if you can fight imagine him versus Dricus. That shit is fucking nuts. I want to see him versus Costa would be kind of fun too. Like, Him versus Chimaev. That'd be sick. These random retarded fights for Yuri would just be funny. But let's talk about someone else. Alexander Rakic should move up to heavyweight. I feel very strongly about this. Look, he lost to Yuri. If he'd beaten Yuri, then I would have been like, all right, you can probably get a title shot with like one win. But now he's probably a couple wins away, and even though I put him in my my Dark Horses video, and I still think he's got a really good shot stylistically to become champion against the right guy in that division. I think Yuri's a uniquely hard matchup for him just because Yuri's too retarded to lose. But I think he could beat Pereira. I think he could beat Ankalaev. So this is not me saying he's got no hope of a belt at light heavyweight, but this is me saying take a look at the heavyweight division. It's an absolute fucking shithole. Let me just read through names. Rodrigo Nascimento, Marcos Rogério de Lima, Alexander Romanov, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, Tai Tuivasa, Derek Lewis, Sergey Spivak, Marcin Tybura, Jailton Almeida, Stipe Miocic, he's not going to fight him, obviously. Alexander Volkov, I think he could beat. Curtis Blades, I think he could beat. Tough. Pavlovich gets interesting. Garn gets interesting. Aspinall gets interesting. And Jones, obviously, he ain't going to fight him. But right now, where's he ranked at light heavyweight? I think he's ranked number 5. Number five at heavyweight right now, it's Volkov. I think stylistically he could beat Volkov. He could take Volkov down. He's not a small guy either. He's like 6'4", 6'5". He walks around like 240 or something apparently. That's what, like 235, 240. Bulk up a little bit more. Put on a little bit chub so you're just not able to get chucked around by the grapplers, which I don't think he would because he's way more athletic than everyone there apart from like Garn and Aspinall. Alexander Rakic at heavyweight, yes or no, he beats like everyone except like Aspinall, Garn, and maybe Pavlovich. Like I think he could beat Blades. He could stuff Blades' takedowns, beat him up on the feet maybe. And that's honestly the thing. The people like, there's not like, heavyweights are not that much bigger than light heavyweights. Height-wise, they're the same height. Most of them, apart from like Volkov. But height-wise, they're the same height. The heavyweights just have more fat on them for the most part. Some of them are bigger, like obviously, like Pavlovich and Aspinall and stuff. Obviously, there's no chance they're making light heavyweight. But pretty much everyone else is like a guy who's just got more build on them. They've just got a bit more muscle and a bit more fat. Rakic is a fucking jacked big dude for light heavyweight. He should move up to heavyweight. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. I also think Johnny Walker should move up. And now I know a lot of you are saying I'm just trying to get him chinned at heavyweight. But honestly, like, I know Johnny Walker gets chinned a lot, but who are the real power punchers at heavyweight? Like, who are the really good strikers that have good power too that might chin him? Like, I think at this stage, even though Ty's got power, I think Walker would beat him. Like, Lewis is a possibility. Rozenstruik, maybe. In terms of guys you can fight, obviously he's not fighting Stipe. Like, Volkov could chin him, maybe. Blades could catch him. Pavlovich, obviously. Garn, Aspinall. Even Garn wouldn't chin him. He would probably just beat him. But, like, I think Johnny Walker would be way better at heavyweight. He would have less of a bad weight cut, so his chin wouldn't be cooked. He's also like 6'6", so he'd be fine there size-wise. He'd be like the same size as most of them. He'd be the same size as like Volkov probably. So if this guy didn't, imagine his chin was good. Imagine you just get Johnny Walker but with a good chin. Obviously skill-wise, I don't think he would still be champion, but he ain't just getting chinned by randoms. Like, I don't think Jamal Hill just flat out smokes him if Johnny Walker doesn't just get knocked out by gusts of wind. So I think he should try and move up to heavyweight. He's a massive guy. He obviously cuts a lot of weight. And yeah, I think he beats pretty much like the whole bottom half of the rankings, like up to like maybe like Almeida could wrestle him, but I doubt it. But yeah, I think he beats a lot of the guys at heavyweight. So yeah, let's talk about one other person now. Lastly, for the heavyweight that should move down, it's Jailton Almeida. He's really the only one that I could see like logically making light heavyweight. He's made it before. He would need to cut off a bit of the muscle. You can see in this photo, he's got the muscle, but he's got a bit of chub there. Look, if he beats Romanov, look, there is a path back. But just because no one likes him and no one cares about him, I doubt he's going to get a real good opportunity. This guy ain't fighting Garn in a 5-round main event. They ain't going to do that unless the UFC wants to punish Garn. But yeah, Almeida would beat most guys at light heavyweight if he made the weight class safely, because I don't think he's just going to get like sat on by someone, like their belly weight put on him and not be able to move like a Curtis Blades. Like light heavyweight, Reyes, Mirzakhanov, Menefield, Guskov, Olberg, Smith, I think he beats. Smith's tough, just because Smith's got good grappling. Like Ozdemir's close-ish. Khalil, I think he could grapple. Walker's interesting. You might be able to grapple him. I think he could get chinned by Walker, though. Like, Krylov's interesting. Rakic, I think he would lose. Blachowicz probably loses. I think, hey, he would lose to those top 5 guys, but let's not act like he's got much better of a future at heavyweight. And also, it would just drum up some interest. Like, right now, no one gives a fuck about him. He's fighting in a week and no one gives a shit, and he's a top 10 heavyweight. Like, if you're a top 10 ranked fighter, people should be talking about your next fight, which no one cares about. All we're talking about is how shit the fight's going to be. So yeah, move down to light heavy. You could honestly drum up some interest. That's half of the reason for pretty much all these fighters too, is because it would get some buzz around them and it would get some storylines around them going into the fight and coming out of the fight if they win. At a new weight class, you get a ranking at another weight class. So yeah, I think Almeida is really the only heavyweight that I could see moving down to light heavyweight. But yeah, that's the video done, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Daily uploads continue. I'm recording a bunch of videos. We're going to be just pumping them out. I'm just absolutely splurging out content right now. Hope you enjoy. We just hit 6K subs. Much appreciated. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.